Thank you very much. Moving on to items to be introduced by councillors. Councillor Neal.
Yeah, I have an item to be introduced. I'll just pass my motion around and maybe I'll give it to you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm introducing regulation of payday loan establishments, and I'll read it out. Whereas the City of Toronto recently approved regulatory changes required to prohibit the issuance of new business licenses to payday loan outlets, and whereas there are concerns that the payday loan establishments are predatory and take advantage of low-income residents who do not have access to credit and become trapped in debt cycles as a result of payday loan exorbitant fees, and therefore be it resolved that staff be directed to undertake municipal benchmarking, review licensing options available, and report back to the Corporate Services Committee with the results of the review. And just to speak to this briefly.
Sure, of course, Councillor Neal.
Yeah, I've been looking at this for a number of years within the City of Oshawa, and actually I've dealt with it and tried to deal with it over the years, especially at the region, because they're the ones who cut the checks. I know that when there was a postal strike and the checks were being issued at the region a number of years ago, that these establishments went over to the, and I was told this by frontline staff at the region, that they went over there and went up and down the lineups to make sure they got their hands on those checks. So it is costing the taxpayer money, but more relevant to that, it is hurting low-income people in this city. And through no fault of their own, we know what's going on in regards to some of the manufacturing and feeder plants, what's happening to them. We're trying to do our best to resolve that. But I understand through Toronto that if you want a license to do payday loan outlet, then you have to offer something like credit counseling to some of the people. You just don't have them come in and take most of their check and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into details. This motion pretty well spells it out what I'm getting at, and our people that deal with this throughout the city, like the Refuge, and that I've talked to them through the years, and yes, it is a problem. So this isn't coming just from not looking into it for a number of years. And the banks retreating from the south end of Oshawa area too doesn't help. I've discussed this with the banking institutions. Of course, they've retreated from smaller municipalities as well. But to leave these places sometimes on all four corners or two corners of some of our main streets, I really think that something needs to be done. And now with Toronto doing it, and I've asked the province through the years to try and do something through the region. And so I'll just leave this the way it is. Great. And I appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Neal. Councillor Giberson.
Yeah, I want to thank Councillor Neal for bringing this forward. I know that this, if I recall correctly, has come before previous councils. And I hope there is something that we can do with this. I look forward to seeing what the City of Toronto has been doing with it, because I wasn't aware that they had introduced something. Maybe there are other municipalities that have also done something with the payday loans. I have very, very little love for these establishments. There are 10 of them in Ward 4 alone. And I agree with the language, predatory. I believe that they are. They take advantage of people whenever they have the fewest options and are in the direst of straits financially. So I hope there is something that we can do as a municipality to somehow rein the business in or make them more responsible than they currently are, which is next to nothing, in my opinion, in terms of the level of responsibility they exercise towards the well-being of the customers that they're serving, or I would say taking advantage of. I suppose one of the things we're going to want to include in this somewhere along the way is some further lobbying to upper levels of government in terms of what they can be doing to participate in this push, and maybe also having a look at, or asking them to have a look at, because the credit union sector is regulated by the province, the banking sector is regulated by the federal government. Maybe have a look at or ask them to have a look at what they can be doing to ensuring that those sectors are serving these higher need individuals a little bit better, and maybe just by virtue of expanding some of their services and being more helpful. I would love to see, just by virtue of maybe something like that, just taking away the business of these payday loan companies altogether. But anyway, I look forward to seeing how this one moves forward, because this is a very important issue for people who are struggling right now. Thank you.
Yeah, just to comment quickly, I like the licensing options available, so it gives it a wide breadth of staff to come back and do something. So very good. Councillor Nicholson?
Obviously, I'm going to support this. I think it's something that has to be done. I'm concerned about also whether or not we have the authority, and I want our staff to look at the legal authority as well. I believe in the past, Toronto was able to do it because they have certain rights and provisions under the City of Toronto Act that we may not have under the Municipal Act. If that's something that we now can do, I'd like to hear that. But if we don't, then possibly staff also may want to give us a wording or some motion that we could put to the provincial level to ask for that power. I'm told that the interest rates in these I call them loan sharks, approaches 60 and 70%. This is criminal. They call themselves payday loans, but I can tell you in my community, 90% of the checks that they collect are government checks. They aren't payday loans. They aren't paychecks. They're government checks, and they're taking advantage of the very limited funds that people on assistance are getting now. You can't live off assistance or ODSP today if you get the full amount. If you start losing a third of that to these kind of predators, I mean, you're really just taking advantage of and victimizing people. And the sooner these people are limited, the better. My personal view is I wish the province would ban them outright and eliminate this scourge on our lower income families in this community.
Just to qualify, just a quick question to the mover of the motion, Councillor Neal. I assume that reviewing license options available did include the legal benchmarking that Councillor Nicholson talked about.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And staff can make note of that. Mayor Carter, good morning.
Morning, Chair Marks. Thank you very much. A couple things is I thank Councillor Neal for bringing this forward. I'll ask for a recorded vote at the appropriate time. But what I was going to say is also this comes to a bigger issue, which is the unaffordability that many individuals are facing. And I think that what we're finding is these are, in many circumstances, these are individuals that are living paycheck to paycheck and just not having enough. I don't like the way that they operate. I'm disappointed that they would be predatory. I think that whatever we can do to raise the awareness in regards to this, the region is trying to do some things on the OW file to make sure that distribution of funds is done differently. And I'm looking forward to overall the provincial government really taking this on seriously. But I just truly believe that we need a province to stand up not only in this issue, but the issue about poverty in general, and really try to understand why this comes back to is why our individuals have to use these facilities. What are the issues behind that? It's the same thing as what I say about, when we look at food banks. Why is it that individuals are utilizing that, and what systematic change has to happen? And I think we need to have that bigger conversation, but I applaud Councillor Neal for his efforts, and he has my full support. Like I say, recorded vote at the appropriate time, sir.
Thank you. Any other members of the committee? Visiting councillors? Oh, sorry, Councillor Hurst.
Thank you.
Hard to see you over with the screen in front of you there.
Sorry. Hi. No, I fully support this, and Councillor Nicholson referred to it as being a form of loan sharking, and I've always said I think it is. I think it's a legalized form of loan sharking, and I'm not supportive of the thing, of their business plan. However, I've been told by people in the employ of these establishments, it's not just folks that are economically disadvantaged. You wouldn't believe the people who have gainful employment making a good wage that make use of this. So it's a whole, it is across the board. And they said professionals use this situation because everybody wants money now. I think you'll notice where these operations pop up, it's often in place of where there had been a community bank, one of the mainstream banks. We're losing our little community branches throughout the area. And I know myself, the bank I deal with, they closed down a branch that I dealt with for many years. They've been there for close to 50 years, and they were kind enough to hold a meeting for an information session for the customers. And where would they go next? And when I talked to one of the senior management people from head office about it, and I said, they said, well, you know, you have a branch in South Oshawa. And I said, no, I don't. They were talking about the Four Corners. They weren't talking about anything south of basically King Street. And I said, no, that's downtown. And I said, we have a financial desert that have, I would say, if I could, Councillor Nixon, you had 25,000 folks, 48,000 people. I said, you have a whole market of people that you used to serve, you and the other mainstream banks didn't. So I said, we have a financial desert. And I don't know if it's possible through his worship if there's something else that we could do as a municipality. I think that helps if there is a presence. I know it's a big ask, but it's distressing to see people being taken advantage of when there are no other options available to them. And my full support to the motion. Thank you, Councillor Neal, for bringing this up.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, Mayor Carter has called for a recorded vote. Thank you, Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Mayor Carter?
Yes.
Councillor Giberson?
Yes.
Councillor Hurst?
Yes.
Councillor Neal?
Yes.
Councillor Nicholson?
Yes.
Councillor Marks?
Yes.
That's 6 affirmative.
Thank you. Any other motions by staff, committee? Seeing none, have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you.